What is going on, guys? Money Webby here, back again in week 7 with my favorite DFS picks of the week. A few guys at every position I'm extremely high on. I think they can easily go off in their spots. Just really good matchups and things. Look like they're going to be going their way in week 7. So we get a nice 10-game slate here, a little bit smaller, but still a ton of good options to choose from. So before we get going, definitely slap a like in the video. It really helps me out. Let's see if we can get over 300 likes yet again on this video. We hit it again last week, so let's see if we can continue to hit that number. Thank you a lot if you can do that. And if you happen to be new here to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button and continue to get these videos the remainder of the NFL season. If you want some good NBA DFS content, keep it locked here by subscribing. And let's just get into it, the quarterbacks. First up, really good values at this position, and my first guy I'm looking at is going to be Cam Newton here at 5,900. I think this could be a blow-up spot for him to have a really good game, hit that upside that we know and love with Cam Newton. The games that he normally kind of gets it going is when he rushes in for touchdowns and has some more upside with his passing ability. We saw that against the Atlanta Falcons earlier this year, where he threw for 335 yards. 3 touchdowns, and in this matchup against Philly, the way you really beat them is through the air. Their run defense is really stout, so that can limit Christian McCaffrey and kind of make them just go more pass-heavy here. And with Greg Olsen back, they got some more weapons to get it done through the air. DJ Moore, he's looked pretty solid besides the fumbles. Funchess had a crazy catch last week, and Olsen looked pretty good. So, I mean, and also they got McCaffrey receiving out of the backfield. So it's not like they have a shortage of weapons that really go against this Eagles pass coverage unit. So I think Cam Newton could get closer to 300 yards passing, get like 2 touchdowns through the air, and he still has that really good upside with the rushing ability. I mean, he's been taken off like 9 or 10 times every single game recently, so really good ability there. Can definitely punch in a touchdown rushing. So at 5,900, we're getting him at a really good discount for a guy that could flirt with 25 to 30 DraftKings points here in a game that's going to be more friendly for fantasy, because the Eagles, they run a lot of plays. They have the 4th most plays per game, so that will kind of make it a faster paced game for Cam Newton. So some more ability to get some more pass attempts off, and with Greg Olsen back, they definitely can get it done through the air. So that's my first quarterback. Really good price on him. And for my second guy, right below him, Baker Mayfield. He's had a struggle over the last 2 games, or last 3 games kind of, with the interceptions, not being very accurate with the football. By the numbers, his percentage for his accuracy, well, not his accuracy, but his percentage of throws that are being completed are really low. But this is the matchup where he can extremely bounce back against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To my opinion, like, they probably have the worst pass coverage unit in all of football. So the guys on the Browns, they've been struggling. Jarvis Landry really has been struggling with his ability to catch balls and just get some yardage. But this is the game where he can break free against Tampa Bay, and also NJOKU has a really good matchup. So they're 2 like primary options passing the ball. Have one of those matchups where they can break free. A tough kind of draw of things the last 2 weeks. The Chargers defense is pretty solid and pass coverage, and also the Ravens have one of the best defenses in all of the NFL. So this is the game where he can finally get it going, show off that upside, because he's been throwing the ball a good amount, over 40 pass attempts the last 3 games. So that was really a good ability here and a great matchup against Tampa Bay. They have an over-under 50 points in this game, and Tampa Bay, we know they don't play much defense, and also their offense can move the ball pretty well to keep this game close and high scoring. So that's my second quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Probably my favorite play of the week, honestly, at quarterback. But if you want some more savings, Joe Flacco is also another guy to keep on your radar here at 5,400, going against the worst defense against fantasy quarterbacks on the season. They're just allowing a ton of just yardage and touchdowns. It seems like every wide receiver is just breaking free against them. Alex Smith last time against the Saints defense kind of was beating himself. I mean, he was not getting the ball out quick enough, and he was very inaccurate with his throws. But Joe Flacco, who's been playing really well this year, and they've just been throwing the ball a lot when they have games, and like a good game script for them to throw it, and like a neutral game script, which means they're within 7 points or up by less than 7 points. He's been throwing the ball one of the most kind of the heaviest, or just the most pass attempts out of most teams, like they're top 5 in the league in that kind of scenario. So in this game where they're 2-point favorites against a Saints team that should be able to keep it closer compared to the Titans last week, who couldn't move the ball like past the 50-yard line, So it should be closer, some more points. Another game that has a 50-point over-under. So FLACCO, I think they're going to have to pass the ball a little bit more here in this game, over 40 pass attempts, as the Saints have a solid run defense. But like we've seen this year, their pass coverage is really suspect. So I think FLACCO can really return a lot of value here at 5,400. And also Marshawn Lattimore, the #1 cornerback, is still in the concussion protocol. So if he doesn't play, I don't see how the Saints really slow down the passing offense of the Ravens that much. They'll definitely struggle with guys like John Brown, Crabtree, and Snead, who is a nice little receiving core. So that's my third quarterback and my final guy. All guys, really good value, all below 6,000. So those are the three guys I'm primarily looking at on the slate. And now for running backs, Ezekiel Elliott here at 8,100. This is a nice spot for him to get it going. Again here, he's been very solid over the last few weeks, showing some good upside. He had 37 against Detroit, 21 against a really good Jacksonville defense. And this is probably the best matchup against the running defense that's kind of bad, similar to what it was against Detroit, where he had this really big holes and stuff like that. And if you look at Washington's defense, they've been graded out as the second worst run defense on Pro Football Focus and also the third worst on DVOA. So the analytics point to Washington have a very beatable run defense, and the Cowboys obviously love to keep it on the ground. Some solid run blocking should be available here for Zeke. And last year, he had a really good game against Washington. He went 33 for 150 and 2 touchdowns towards the end of the year. So I think he can have a similar game to that, where he gets closer to 25 carries, over 100 yards, and punches in a touchdown or two. And obviously, we've seen the upside there with him receiving the ball a little bit more this year. I don't expect it to be a 40-7 game here against Washington. It should be pretty close, and that means Zeke can flirt with more of 3 to 4 catches here to continue to add to his upside. He only had 1 catch last week because they really didn't need to pass the ball that much to him, as Cole Beasley was really getting open. But in this matchup against Washington, they have some solid cornerbacks in the outside, and Zeke will be more involved in the receiving game and also be very productive on the ground. So that's my first running back to look at. And my second guy, he seems a little bit underpriced. The matchup is really bad on paper, but still, the Patriots have one of the best run blocking teams in all of football, and Michel's has been getting a lot of touches for a guy at 5,500. So he's going to be my second guy. Over the last few weeks, he's gotten 24 carries, 18 carries, and 25. And also, he's just been getting a ton of opportunities in the red zone. Over the whole entire year, he is the second most red zone rushes out of all running backs. So that's elite stuff. Can definitely put the ball in the end zone. He's only behind Todd Gurley, who we know is an absolute tank in fantasy football. So Michel has the opportunity here just to get around 4 yards a carry, get 20 rushes for 80 yards and a touchdown or two, and that's a really good value at 5,500. And I expect this game to be a positive game script for the Patriots. I expect them to get up here and win this game, meaning that the Patriots should be kind of keeping the ball on the ground, churning out the clock a little bit in the second half if they need to. And also Chicago, they have a really good pass rush, so that could allow the Patriots to kind of keep it on the ground a little bit more, to keep them honest, not be able to just tee off on Tom Brady and stuff like that. So Michel, ton of opportunities with the carries and the red zone attempts, so he's going to be my second guy at 5,500. And for my final guy on the other side of the field here, it's going to be the Chicago Bears running back TARIK Cohen. He's finally getting a lot of snaps. He had 49% of the snaps last week, and against Tampa Bay, I believe he had around 50% of the snaps as well. So he's kind of beating out Howard for some touches, and he's been very active receiving the ball. He had 7 catches over the last 2 games, and in both of the games, 7 for 90 and 7 for 121. So another matchup here against the Patriots that is pretty prone to allowing some receiving yards to the running backs. We saw Kareem Hunt get a lot of receiving yards last week. I believe he had over 90 in that game. And they're allowing the 5th most receiving yards to running backs on the whole entire year. Still, a shifty guy like TARIK Cohen can definitely get open here. And also the Patriots, they have some solid cornerbacks. We saw Tyreek Hill kind of break free due to him being matched up on their second cornerback, but Allen Robinson should be kind of locked down by Stephon Gilmore, which can limit him and add more opportunities for a guy like TARIK Cohen. Also, they are pretty solid at covering tight ends, so that could limit Trey Burton as well. So it could be more of a game where it goes through TARIK Cohen and also Taylor Gabriel on the outside of the second wide receiver. So I like TARIK Cohen a lot here. Think he can get over 10 touches, and he's been very efficient whenever he's gotten the ball. So that's going to be my final running back at 5,100. So you got MICHEL, Cohen in that game, and then you got EZEKIEL, ELLIOTT in a really good upside spot against the Redskins. And now for wide receivers, there's honestly a ton of wide receivers that I love this week, but obviously I can't recommend all of them. So for my first wide receiver, like I mentioned, Jarvis Landry has the opportunity here in the matchup to finally take advantage of how many targets he's been getting. I mean, he got 9 last week, only caught the ball twice. 10, 10, 14 the weeks before that. He's just not being very efficient when he's been getting his looks. But against Tampa Bay here, they have one of the worst slot cornerbacks in all of NFL. It's going to be MJ Stewart, who's been playing slot corner for them, and he's actually tied for the most touchdowns allowed out of any cornerback in the league. So Landry can definitely find his way in the end zone. Getting around like 7 catches here for like 100 yards. I could see a game similar to what he did against the Jets, where he has a much better game. Gets maybe a touchdown to give him around 25-point upside here. And the targets, they've been consistent. It's just the matchups haven't been great over the last 2 weeks. Like Baltimore, like I mentioned, really good defense. Chargers, I believe they had Casey Hayward kind of shadow Jarvis Landry in that game, so that limited him. And this is the spot, though, for him to get it done. So at 7,300, don't mind the price. And people could be scared away from him a little bit because he's been doing so bad over the last few weeks. But this is one of the best matchups you can ask for in all football. Mohamed Sanu got like a 40-yard touchdown in the first quarter against Tampa Bay last week before going out with an injury. So Landry, he can do it as well, one of the best slot wide receivers. So that's my first guy. And for my second guy, right below him, Brandin Cooks here at 7,100. So going against San Fran, they really only have one good guy in coverage, and that's Richard Sherman. But the thing with him is that he normally stays on the left side of the field. So he's going to be kind of locking down Robert Woods, because Robert Woods primarily goes to the right side. He's normally the right wide receiver, and Cooks will go to the other side of the field. So he'll be matching up against a second cornerback who isn't very good. They've kind of rotated that second cornerback in and out. But whoever it's been, they've been getting roasted. We saw some big plays over the last 2 weeks. The guys like Christian Kirk, who had a 75-yard touchdown, and also Valdez-Scantling, who had some big plays. I believe it had like a 60-yard catch and a 30-yard catch. And just some big play potential in this game for one of the best deep threats in all football, and Brandin Cooks. And also Cooper Kupp, he's likely out of this game. He aggravated his MCL in that last week's game, so that will add some more target opportunities for Brandin Cooks here in this game. And I just think this is one of those games where he gets back to the upside like he had against Minnesota, 7 for 116, a touchdown. That's exactly what I could see him doing in this game. Just being very efficient with his looks, being able to catch a deep ball and possibly getting that into the end zone. So at 7,100, really good upside as my second wide receiver. And for another deep threat, John Brown here at 5,700. I mentioned how bad the Saints pass coverage has been. So you can pair him up with Joe Flacco. I mean, if John Brown has that huge play potential, like we saw against Pittsburgh, get a 71-yard catch. And like I said before, Marshawn Lattimore, he's still in the concussion protocol. So that's definitely not a good sign for the Saints defense if he doesn't give it a go. I mean, John Brown would be one of my favorite plays. He's already one of my favorite plays, even if Lattimore does play. But if he doesn't play, I feel like John Brown is almost a lock in your lineups with how much ability he's just had at the wide receiver position. I mean, not ability, but opportunity. He's had the third most air yards out of any wide receiver behind guys like Julio Jones and I believe DeAndre Hopkins are the only 2 guys ahead of him. So, I mean, he's in elite territory with that, with just the amount of yards he's been given the opportunity to get if he comes down with some of those deep balls. And against the Saints, are definitely prone to allowing those. So, he kind of took a backseat last week because of the bad game script against the Titans. But the Titans actually have a really good speedy cornerback and Adoree Jackson, which kind of limited John Brown and made Crabtree the go-to guy going against Malcolm Butler. But that will probably not be the case here in this week, as John Brown can kind of roast all these Saints cornerbacks who've been playing really bad. And if they're without Lattimore, John Brown is going to go off in this matchup. So that's my third wide receiver. And for our final guy, really good value here in JERMAINE KEARSE at 4,100. Quincy Enunwa is going to be out of this game. He got a high ankle sprain last week, and that made JERMAINE KEARSE a really good option for Sam Bradford. He went 9 for 94 on 10 targets, so he was extremely efficient with that work. So he'll be playing out of the slot here in this game, going against the Vikings, who have been really suspect against slot wide receivers. And they just lost one of their better cornerbacks in Mike Hughes. He's going to be out for the year. So that's going to mean one of their worst cornerbacks, one of the worst graded cornerbacks in all of NFL last year, Alexander, is probably going to be matched up with JERMAINE KEARSE. So I could see KEARSE having another huge game here against the Vikings. Like Robbie Anderson could easily be limited by Xavier Rhodes on the outside, meaning a lot of work will be funneled into JERMAINE KEARSE in the slot. And also we've seen Sam Bradford just have that kind of more of a desire to throw to the slot guys, like we saw with Quincy Enunwa earlier in the year, and also JERMAINE KEARSE last week. So a 4,100, an extremely good price for a guy that could see 8 to 10 targets against a really bad slot cornerback. So that's my final wide receiver. If you want to save some money, that's definitely a guy on my radar. So Landry, Cooks, John Brown, and JERMAINE KEARSE are the guys to look at wide receiver. And now for tight end, if you want to pay up for Zach Ertz, it's really an extremely good spot against Carolina. So I think if you want that upside, a guy that can go and get you 20 to 25 DraftKings points in a really good matchup against Carolina. They've been struggling against tight ends this year. We saw Vernon Davis have a big player too last week against them. And also they've been allowing just a lot of yardage to tight ends. So Zach Ertz, a guy that's been extremely consistent week in, week out. I mean, he's been getting around the same amount of targets every single game, like double digits, except that last game against the Giants, which was a blowout. So that's kind of understandable. But I expect this game to be pretty close. Could turn into a shootout, as Carolina and Philly both have below average pass coverage units. So I think Wentz could get it done through the air, and also Cam Newton, which will make the game be a little bit faster paced. The clock won't go down as quickly, like it won't be a slow paced game. So I could see Zach Ertz getting around like 8 to 10 catches, honestly, in this game. He's been averaging 11 targets per game, so has really good upside. He's honestly worth the price tag at $7,100 because he could outscore so many tight ends by a good margin, except the other two guys I'm going to recommend, hopefully. So next up, David NJOKU. He's probably honestly my favorite tight end out of anyone on the slate. I think he's going to be super chalky here, but I'm going to be biting the chalk in my lineups with David NJOKU. I mean, like how he's being used the last 3 weeks or so. I might have just said that 3 times in a row, but 12 targets, 11 targets, and 7. He's been running a ton of routes among like all the tight ends. Like it's been elite kind of numbers. Like you want guys that are seeing a lot of snaps, which NJOKU has been, running a lot of routes, which he has been, and seeing a lot of targets. So he kind of checks off every kind of criteria to get it done at the tight end position. He's still kind of underpriced at $4,200. I mean, he's been getting so much opportunity, and this is the best matchup you really can ask for a tight end. The Bucs have been allowing 97 yards per game to tight ends. We saw Austin Hooper go off against them last week. Vance McDonald went off against them. So David NJOKU, an athletic freak in nature, can pull home a touchdown, get around 5 to 7 catches here again, which is great for PPR, and to see a lot of targets in a good matchup. So another really guy to add to your stack if you want to stack up the Browns, like NJOKU, Jarvis, and Baker Mayfield, will probably be pretty chalky, but still can be very profitable if all those guys pan out like I think they can. So that's my second tight end. And then O.J. Howard. I mean, he's just looking extremely good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers every time they've went to him. Besides the injury where he went out against Chicago, he's been a really, really good 18, 16, and 13. 3 out of the last 4 games, or 3 out of the 4 games he's played in full time. So at 3,600 here, he's still getting more opportunities than Cameron Brate, seeing some more targets, seeing some more routes run. So I think again here against Cleveland, this game could turn into a shootout. And O.J. Howard is so good. I think he can beat these Cleveland guys in coverage. Denzel Ward is pretty solid on the outside, so he can limit a guy like Mike Evans or Deshaun Watson, kind of make some more targets, go the way of O.J. Howard. And Jameis Winston, he just has an affinity to throw to tight ends. He loves to target them in the red zone and just throughout the game. So I could see him having a similar game to what he did last game, like 5 for 60 and touchdown. So at 3,600, really good value as my final tight end. And now for defense, if you want to pay up, you can definitely go and look at the Jaguars here against the Texans offensive line that can't even probably block me off the edge. So like the Jaguars, they saw them the Texans 2 times last year. In the first game against them, they got 10 sacks against the Texans. That was the game that Deshaun Watson came in the second half. And Deshaun Watson is prone to being sacked a lot. Like, he tries to make a lot of plays, which leads to some sacks. So I think the Jaguars could get, like, over 4 to 5 sacks here in this game. Watson can force the balls as well, so he could throw a pick or two here. He struggled a lot against a Buffalo defense last week. And we know that the Jaguars defense is a lot better than Buffalo. I mean, and as well, on top of things, Jacksonville just got kind of owned against the Cowboys, so they're going to be pretty angry about that one. They haven't had that really elite game of defense, which we saw in 2017. I don't think they forgot how to play defense. I mean, they still have one of the best defenses on paper. So this is a spot where they really match up well against the Texans. Against a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, he could be limited. Will Ford could be limited, kind of making Watson kind of panic. And they can't run the ball at all, the Texans that is. So this is like a really good matchup for the Jaguars. So I think they can have finally one of those huge games, which we saw from 2017. So at 3,600, that's my first play. And then for some more value at defense, the Patriots against the Bears here, I think, can actually bounce back from their ugly game last week against the Chiefs. They still showed some good things against one of the best defenses in football. I mean, they picked off Mahomes twice. They kept on limiting them to field goals in like the first half, but just in the second half, Mahomes and TARIK just connected for some huge plays. And sometimes there's really nothing you can do about that. Like, you can try to scheme out TARIK, but then you got Kelsey. So it's just like, they're going to beat you one way, but against this Bears offense, it's a lot worse compared to the Chiefs offense. So I think the Patriots can bounce back at really good value at 2,400. Mitch Trubisky hasn't played well really outside of that one game against Tampa Bay, so they can pick him off once or twice, get some sacks, and I'm not that scared of the Bears offense. So I think the Patriots, good spot there at 2,400. So that's my second defense, and for my last defense, the Jets here at 2,100. This is kind of a riskier play, but another offensive line here in the Vikings that are prone to allowing some sacks. We saw the Cardinals get a few sacks on Cousins last week. I believe they got a pick 6 in that game. So the Vikings are prone to allowing some things to the defense because the offensive line can make Cousins get a sack or be forced into a sack and maybe a strip fumble. Maybe he throws a pick because of the pass rush. And the Jets defense is an underrated unit. They played pretty well for the most part this year. Picked off Andrew Luck 3 times last game. They can force some more sacks. I'm a little bit surprised by that 0 sacks last game, but I could see around 3 to 4 in this game against Cousins, and really good value at 2,100 if you just want to kind of punt that defense and pay up more at wide receiver, running back, and stuff like that, and tight end. So that's my final defense for an extreme value. So you got the Jets, the Patriots, and the Jaguars for the 3 defenses, and that's my final advice for the week. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Some week 7 plays coming your way. Be sure to slap a like in the video before you head out. Over 300 likes. Thank you so much if we can hit that. And also subscribe if you haven't already. What are you doing? Hit the bell icon after you subscribe to get alerted every time I upload. Good luck on this week. You can follow me on Twitter at MoneyWebby as well for some other updates. I tweet out some more stuff. So good luck. We'll see you back here again next time.